What's going on, guys? Dan here, DD Speed Shop. Today, we're gonna try and fire this thing up. Well, this video, maybe not today. So where I left it last, we got a pile of plumbing done, we got the belts on, everything seems like it's kind of in the right place, but there, as always, the last 10% feels like it takes all the time. So we gotta put plugs in this thing, that's easy. I have to make spark plug wires. I bought a universal kit, so we'll have to do that. I'll show you how to do that. We have to get the starter going. There's currently no electrical in this thing. I did get new cables. I'm going to put new battery cables on it, so we'll get that all taken care of. This thing had a problem where it wouldn't start. The neutral safety or something, I was not happy, so to look at that. I do have a shifter. I might put that shifter in there. I have a slip yoke. I have a rear transmission seal. There's all those kind of things, which will kind of take a bunch of time. And as much as I'd like to hear it run, I think I should probably do it properly. At the end of the day, it's a little bit more work for me, but for you guys, it'll all be in the same video. Versus let it run, hear it do its thing, break the cam in. I want just as many things taken care of as possible. My thought, anyways. So I'm gonna go get set up, get a few parts, get a few little things I need. I don't think there's a whole lot else. We're just gonna put water in it. I gotta put oil in it. I got some zinc additive. Yeah, I mean, hooking up linkages and stuff like that. There's a lot of screwing around to do. Even though the motor's in and looks like it should be going, it's still got a long day ahead of us, and it's after work, so I only have half a day. Story of my frickin' life. I was gonna get on this yesterday, after it's been a couple days since I've been out here, but I bought another car because I'm an idiot, and I just can't stop. I have an addiction. But I would like to hear this thing make a little bit of noise. So I'll get set up. We'll come back and we'll start doing something. I don't know what. Okay, making progress. So I ended up going inside and getting a few parts. I got this, the yoke we're gonna use, 400 short yoke. So that'll be good. What else we got going? I pulled the shifter out. I've got that just kind of sitting in there. I do have the gauges all hooked up. Just run through the firewall. Man, there's stuff everywhere. I lengthened some wires. So again, it's just kind of sitting there. This is all the charge wire and all that for the alternator. I got the key working, so it does in fact start. I just bypassed the neutral safety. That was the problem, which we'll have all figured out. Ready? So that's good. Rolls over. I have the thing full of oil. Little Shell 1540, and man, the amount of people that reminded me to put zinc in this thing was crazy. I appreciate it, because clearly. Toss one of those in there. The next thing we're gonna do is drop in the distributor. So there's a little bit of screen on there. We gotta set the timing, or eyeball the timing. So I have my bypass starter here. So we can get that. We're gonna roll it over so we're on compression of number 1. Then we'll drop the distributor in and kind of static time it to these kind of low compression big blocks, like a fair bit of timing. So I'll probably set it like 12 or so initial, and honestly we're gonna have like 36 or 38 or some crazy number, maybe more, of timing, total timing in it. Because they just, in my experience, these low compression motors love lots of timing, and I'm sure that big cam and all that's not gonna help. So yeah, we got all that dialed together. I think that's about it. So let's drop the distributor in. Once we get that in there, we'll have oil pressure. I still don't have an oil filter on. I gotta put an adapter on. But at that point, the motor should be timed and ready to go. And then I just gotta get the shifter in. I wanna see if the drive shaft will fit, fill the transmission with fluids. I don't see why we can't start this thing. Okay, let's talk timing. So, relatively simple process if it's done correctly, and you just take a little bit of time and get it all dialed together and you understand the fundamentals of it. If you don't, you'd be chasing your tail, you'd be cranky, you'd be, backfiring through the carburetor and all sorts of stuff and not know what's going on. So the two things are, you have to then, we have the camshaft and the crankshaft properly done. We put the cam in, we put dot to dot, so that's all dialed together. Now what we gotta do is sync up the motor to the distributor. So the motor, I'll do that next. We're gonna sync it up so we're on top dead center on number 1. So the piston's all the way up in the hole. Number 1, we're actually gonna go a little bit before it because we wanna put some advanced timing in. Now that being said, we wanna get to that area. Now on the distributor, this is your generic HEI. This has actually already been marked. So someone used this as number 1, which is the pretty common one to use as number 1. You can kind of do whatever you want, but this is just what you should do. And then we're going to mark that on the base as well, and we'll take the cap right off. Now, the goal being, when cylinder number 1 is at top dead center, we're going to want, hang on, this rotor, the tip of the rotor, facing in around there. So that's where it's going to be firing. So then we can obviously adjust it with the twisty twist, but that'll get us in the ballpark. So now we'll get the motor at top dead center, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. Okay, so you're facing number 1. That's where the spark plug's going to go. Maybe I can get it on the bottom side. No, can't really. I'll have to block it from the top. So I'm going to put my finger, man, these headers are a pain. Finger over it. We're going to have our trigger. Now as I bump this, it's going to roll the motor over. We want to feel compression trying to blow my finger off the spark plug hole. That means we're on number 1 compression. So now I felt it suck. Keep going. So I don't know if you could hear that or not. It's hard to get my thumb on this with these giant headers. So you heard that. That means it's blowing out. So now we know we're on the compression stroke of this thing. There we go, bam. Now I might have to get a light, but down in here, this mark right there, that's the timing mark, and that's our timing tab. So we're before it, so we're probably at 14 or so degrees. So if I probably can't do it by hand, I'll put a wrench on the crank, we'll roll it over to 10 or 12 degrees, and that's where we're gonna be. So then as the distributor goes in, it'll be firing right at 8, 10, 12 degrees advance, whatever we got figured out. Okay, so I got this rolled over. Now if you can see the timing mark right there, the big V is 0, and then 2, then the first knock out will be 4, 6, 8, 10, so we're at about 12 degrees. I know Mur in his head's already going 8 degrees, set it at 8 degrees. We're going 12, Mur. So we got that dialed. Now, we're gonna go ahead and take the cap off. This rotor, we're gonna have it hopefully pointing at number 1 on the cap, which is gonna be right there. We have to mesh into the cam gear, so you probably gotta be a little out. And as you push it in, it'll go into place. And on the bottom side, that little tap, man, see that little roll pin in there? That has to mesh into the top of the oil pump drive. I'm gonna drop everything here. So that's where you're gonna mesh into the cam. The chances of it falling in the oil pump drive are none. Everyone always says, get in there with a screwdriver and get it all straight. Nah, we'll put it into the cam drive and we'll bump the motor over until it snaps in there. Then you'll be fine, you'll be in the ballpark. If you really want, you can then roll the motor over again twice until it's at top dead center, but we're not gonna do that. It'll be close enough. And it's not like we're trying to break a camshaft in or nothing like that. So we'll get set up and we'll drop the distributor in real quick. Okay, I'm on the opposite side, got a new gasket. Unfortunately, a bit of a funny thing. This pipe plug that I put in there is a tall one, and it might kind of interfere. So we're gonna end up cheating it just a little bit. So we kind of want the distributor to face in that way. Go ahead and, so now as we mesh into the cam gear, you'll see the rotor wants to twist. So that's not bad. So there we go, one more over. Oh wow, that fell right into the cam. Fortunately, we're kind of 1 gear out. How much screwing around do I want to do? It's still lots of swing if we have it like that. Yeah, we'll pull it out and go 1 back. But if we go 1 back, we're gonna have to crank it to make the oil pump drive. So there we go, we're not in the oil pump drive, but essentially right there-ish will be our mark. Unfortunately, we're gonna hit this pipe plug. Maybe I'll just cheat it and do it how I had it before, which is a little goofy, but. So number 1's gonna be here instead of here. It's kind of irrelevant, then we can still have lots of adjustment. All right, I'm doing it wrong, but I'm gonna say it's good for now. Okay, I've consulted with myself and I think this will work. Now it should work. It'll be a little aesthetically different. So we have our rotor pointing right at number 1. Now, I got it cinched down so this won't really move. Now, in theory, this cap, number one, remember that, everything's number one, should fit on nicely. Now, typically, this would be a little more like that, but our marks are all in line. So, right now, if the car was running, it would be shooting the spark to this electrode, which would then go to, we're going to put it at number one. And considering the motor is 12 degrees advanced, so it's 12 degrees before top dead center, it'll be hitting that spark to ignite the cylinder. So it'll look a little goofy, but this is the best way. So I have the most amount of swing both ways. If I move it the other way, this pipe plug becomes in the way, which is a bit of a hassle. And if I kept going, this boss actually stuck up and there's a little drop down of the distributor. So hot rod parts, it'll work. Might look a little goofy, but we still have lots of swing for adjustment, for advance or retard, whatever we want to do. So that's dialed. The next thing I'm going to do, I'll show you how to make one plug wire. And then, well, I'll put the plugs in. I'll show you how to make one plug wire. I'll do the rest. And then that's basically it. I got to put the oil filter on. I need, like I said, that adapter. And then we just got to do transmission, fluids, water, one more double check, and brum. Okay, so a little jump ahead. Here's what we got. I got a set of spark plug wires. They're MSD 8mm generic ones. They're 65 bucks a set, but they're not terminated. So it's a little time consuming. You gotta put the ends on for the HEI, but it's the way she goes. Now, the kit comes with 8 wires and a coil wire. Basically, it's got, you know, 2 really long ones, 2 mostly long ones, and then obviously as it goes shorter and shorter. So the longer ones go towards the front of the motor. Then you gotta decide exactly how you wanna get these run. I like, on a big block Chevy, the straight boots. I find them just the easiest. They do have 45s, but they didn't have those in stock. So straight out, and I like these little, whatever they are, heat protector things. You know, big block Chevys, big tube headers, it doesn't hurt. Now, I mean, you could run them over the valve covers, we can run them on the back, we can do whatever you want, different side to side. Now, we are gonna run into, on the other side, because we're managing to keep the stock throttle linkage and all that, it's gonna have this bar. Now, I did do a little modification of this, had to bend it, but I don't really want the plug wires going on top of it. So underneath is the way to go. I think we're gonna go underneath on the back side and then just up and in. So that's kind of the plan. So we'll take cylinder number 1, for instance. We'll run it under wherever we want. And then obviously it's gonna go that. So we'll kind of give it a little eyeball so it has lots of room. Mark it, cut it, and I'll take it over the bench and I'll show you how we're gonna terminate it. All right, so we got our plug wire off. I did cut it to size. There's just a few things we're gonna need. The little connector, the boot, and that's pretty much it. Now, step 1, put the boot on, because if you terminate this, you don't have the boot on, it's like flaring a brake line the wrong way, or flaring a brake line without the nut on. I just use a little bit of soap. You can use whatever you want, grease, stuff like that. But slide this girl in here. Gentle, come in. Problem is when you use soap or whatever, the line slides in easier, but then it's harder to hold it. Okay, we got the line, the wire out, I should say. Now, this is the crimping tool, which we're gonna use, but it also has a little thing on the side that shows you where you should cut the wire for the ultimate to get the insulation off. So put one little mark in there, give you a little line, work this around, wipe all the soap and stuff off so you don't slip and cut yourself. Now, I should say, they do sell a tool for this, which honestly I should probably buy with the amount of plug wires I'm making all the time, but I don't have it. There you go. So you got a little centerpiece going. Now you want to fold this back over and have it so it has just a little bit of a air gap in the front. We're going to take our electrode, or whatever this is called, put on the back. You want to give it like an 1/8 or so of an inch. Now I like to just start this by giving it a little crimp. We're going to use the machine, but this just kind of holds it in place. Give her a squeeze side to side. It's got to get kind of skinny. Now this is the bottom side, which is going to be where the two kind of pieces meet. So you'll put that in there. Put this one on the top side. Now if you'll see, they both have little tabs here. That's where it fits in the vise. So we'll just line this up a little bit better. Now this does have a stop on it. You just kind of give it a press. There you go. It's perfectly crimped. Pull this back over. There you go. Back on the car it is. We're dialed. So I'll do that 7 more times. Okay, so we got all the plug wires on, all neat looking. Looks a little more hot rod than stock, but I'm happy with it. Everything's good. Now, I pulled out the drive shaft and we're gonna go and put it all together. I believe this drive shaft should be pretty close to the right length. I kind of gave it a little eyeball and put it up there. It looked okay. So I've already taken it apart. Obviously taken the small block or whatever it is yoke out. Now this yoke is what came out of that 400. Now these bolted in and they had a split drive shaft, 2-piece. It has this little machine dope bit. That's where it had a little O-ring on the shaft itself. So the problem with these are a factory car one won't work. It'll only go in that distance. Now they do sell some, a longer one like this, that's machined out, that goes around the O-ring. The way I see it is, you're only getting this much spline anyway, so this is what I get. I did cut a little bit off this one. I don't know where I put the end bit, but I cut maybe a half. I beveled the edge, and we're gonna be good. So it should ride kind of right about there. And at the end of the day, that's as much engagement on the splines you're ever gonna have as you would on that. Now, the next thing is we need a special U-joint, because as you can see, that's the yoke we took out, and this is the yoke we're putting in. They different. So, what we gotta do, use one of these. This is a combination U-joint, which is a 1350 one side, 1310 the other. So 1350 is kind of heavy duty stuff. So as you can see, it fits in perfect. That's what the truck would have had originally. And then the 1310 will fit into the drive shaft. Now, if we're gonna rebuild this, we'd obviously do the drive shaft with both 1350 U-joints, but the bottom is 1310 in the rear end as well. So it is what it is. So I'm gonna get this all put together. Should be just a couple snap rings, and we should have that momentarily. And hopefully it'll all fit together. Then hook up the transmission or the shifter. I'm gonna knock this over, and we should be ready to start. Okay, I've been giving her, man, can we just jump to the part where we start this thing? So we got the shifter in, mounted, just sitting there. I still got to wire up neutral, safety, and reverse, but all micro switches are there. And honestly, it's as far as I can go ahead because it's basically touching the dash. So you can go ahead a couple inches if we have a short person in there. But I think it'll be me for the most part. Drive shaft, that's what we want to look at. It actually worked out pretty decent. So that's the amount of slip we have, which is maybe 1/2 to 3/4. I'd like 3/4 for sure, but that's in, bolted, ready to go. New seal in there. We got our shift linkage, all that's ready to go. So essentially, I think we're done under here for now. I am missing one bolt on the mount I got to get, but so be it. Oh, let's get out of here. I think I have basically everything taken care of. I'm gonna clean all the junk off. We have oil in it. We got to fill up the trans, couple of vacuum lines, one to the transmission, and put some water in it. Make sure we have no leaks, and then essentially we should be able to fire it. When I did crank it over, it did already put a little bit of fuel. I was just trying to find top dead center. We got ugly, gross fuel, but obviously the fuel pump is working. That's all dialed together. Other than the motor being changed, everything electronically was the same as the car. I want to put a return spring on the throttle. I think that's it. At least that's enough that we can roll it over, see if we have any leaks, go from there. So I'll get this cleaned up, and hopefully I'll see you when it's time to light this candle. We've done the mental checklist. We have myrrh. We're not using the microphone because it'll blow it right out. So we got the Uncle Tony right from Nashville carburetor float bowl filler. So this is the good luck. So we get this all dialed together. We got the hose on the ground, and it should just go vroom vroom or crank crank vroom according to myrrh. Okay, so the plan is we've got a little bit of fuel in there. We're just going to fire it up, make sure it has oil pressure, which it should come into. The second we get that, I'll crank up. Where is the throttle? Actually, the spring on this. So it's sitting at 1800, 2000 RPM for the cam brake in.
Okay.
See what happens. A little bit of timing there. Sounded like it wanted to go there. Step on the throttle again. It's getting fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah, crank it. Oh, hang on. You know what I didn't do?
What?
Was put power to the coil. it's still on the it's still on the little O-ring. I will do that real quick. As I said, we're ready to go for the first time. No issues. That one wire is pretty important. Should have all the gas it's going to need now.
Okay.
Yeah. Good.
Some more timing, sounds like.
You want more timing? Hang on. This thing is tall.
Uh-huh.
Should have lots. Thought it had lots in it.
Okay.
Yeah, give that a whirl. Hang on, maybe I went the wrong way.
I think you went the wrong way.
This isn't going as smoothly as I hoped.
You got a wire crossed up, maybe?
What's that?
You got an ignition the wire in the wrong order or something like that?
Try it again. So I've set the timing at 38 degrees. We're just letting it run at a gently high RPM with the throttle stuck. It was belching out the passenger side pretty hard. It did seem to stop, and it had a little bit of an uneven run, but it doesn't look like it's leaking anything. It was around 180 degrees, so another 10 minutes and it should be good. Well, it sounds pretty good, but it's got a bit of a vacuum leak. And something's tickety-ticky on this side, so hopefully it's exhaust up at the collector of the header, but we got it broken in, still has oil pressure around 180 degrees. A little rich though. Well, it's dark. Ended up bullshitting around with Murph for a bit, but so we got the old girl running, brought cam in. Hopefully you guys could hear me in some of that footage. I don't think it was running, but it ran 180 degrees, which I have 180 degree stat in it. Had oil pressure the whole time. It started to make noise On this side a little bit, it sounded like a little clickety click, but I think it was the exhaust. Now, this thing, when I got these headers, it came with this, I've never had them, they're aluminum multi-layer gasket, but they were very, very thin. And I'm thinking that's what it was, because it sounded, when we shut it off, and I brought the idle down, and I kind of give it a little blap, it didn't sound valve trainy. It sounded like that clack, clack, clack. But when it was running at 2,000 RPM, man, the bugs are crazy. That 2,000 RPM, it made that kind of consistency noise. So we'll see. Hopefully it's all good. So, and the other thing is we have a vacuum leak, which I'm pretty sure is the vacuum advance. The vacuum hose I had is unfortunately a little bit too big, so I jammed it on there. But when we blip the throttle, it would have trouble coming back down to idle. So that's vacuumy to me. So tomorrow we'll do an oil change on it just cause, and vacuum lines. We'll see if we can set the valves if we have to. Change all the gaskets on the exhaust because, like I said, it came with those cheap ones. I want to put on those thick never leaks. I'm a big believer in those. And then, yeah, I think we should be kind of good. The transmission was a little low in fluid. I didn't top it up while it's running and going crazy. But put the fluid in it. We should be able to back it out and then listen to it outside, see what it sounds like. The idle sound pretty good. Just a little clip we had. Hopefully you guys got that too. We'll go from there. But it's 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I'm tired. I'm going to bed, and we'll keep battling this tomorrow. Disconnect your hot rods. Okay, so it's the next day. Everything went pretty good last night with the cam brake in. I can't really complain. It did have like a bit of a thuff, thuff, thuff noise. Sounded like exhaust. So after work, we're done a little bit of work. On the way home, I grabbed some exhaust gaskets and collector gaskets. I think that's what it was. And I think I'm right, because when I got these headers, the guy gave me these gaskets, which are extremely thin, and they're like multi-layer aluminum. And I guess they're supposed to kind of crunch together. So it was in the car like this, and I heard the noise kind of in the middle. And if you look, there's a witness mark where the header touched, but then not down here. It's like brand friggin' new on these middle two cylinders. Actually, this back one as well. This front one's probably what it's supposed to look like. So I'm thinking that's probably what it was. At least I'm hoping. So I went out and I got, I always buy these super thicks. So I got one on this side. The other side I haven't touched yet, but let me show here. They're a little bit on the thick side, so you can collapse them down. They take up if there's any, no straightness and stuff in the cylinder head and all that sort of stuff. So these should be mint, and I changed the collector gasket one side with the super thicks as well. Then oil change, oil looked good coming out, new oil in, zinc additive, exhaust gaskets, and then, I changed the vacuum lines to the proper size. So hopefully that's that. I did put a liter of transmission oil in it because when I checked it yesterday when it was running, it was low. So at this point now, we should be able to fire it back up. I'm gonna warm up a little bit, make sure it's all good, see if I can hear this noise. Hopefully it goes away, and then see if it has gears. If it does, we're backing her out so I can clean the garage. Okay, I tuned up the carburetor a little bit. Double check timing, it's got 38 degrees total. I don't know what it has initial, who cares? Still has a clickety clack on that side, so we'll have to run the rockers one more time, just be on the safe side. It is what it is. We'll deal with it, but let's fire it up, and got oil pressure. It's at 160 degrees. We'll see if it has the gears. I double checked the tranny oil, but I haven't put in gear yet, so fingers crossed. Sounds cool.
Guys. It's something. What's that?
What are you doing?
So we backed it out and started making this weird rubbing noise. And I'm like, oh, this is bad. So I tightened the belt, fired back up, still making the noise. And I looked, and the creeper, I drove over it. And it would appear as though it has jammed itself up in the torque converter. So we'll see if we can fix this sound with the floor jack.
That poor creeper has really been through it.
I'm excited to see what it's going to look like. It's going to have a big mark on it. You know, I wish somebody would warn me, maybe just work a little cleaner here and there. This floor jack's tired too for some reason.
Well, it was under there all right, holy.
Well, it's jammed up in the motor. Oh, it broke. Trying to see what happens here. Yeah. I think that was the noise.
Is it warm? Yeah, it's a little toasty.
So now it's just ergonomic on the bottom. Man, this thing though, she lasts. Oh, she's... Alright. Let's see if the noise went away though. I'm thinking it's gonna be good now.
Is there a brand new creeper that's been sitting in its box for like 2 years that I bought him? Maybe.
I don't want to wear it out. Alright, let's see. I'm a genius and I fixed it. Lifter noise. We'll give it a little tighten up. Okay, so as you can see, I haven't cleaned the garage. Car's back in. Now, I want to check the valves. Now, I know I showed a couple videos ago of running the valves when I put it in, just by rolling it over and stuff. But whatever, maybe I made a mistake or it wasn't 100%. So anyways, what I'm going to do now is we're going to set the valves with it running. So essentially, I'm going to explain real quick, then we're going to do it. So you fire everything up. It runs. You'll loosen the rocker with that nut until it starts clattering, clack, 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 clack. Then you'll tighten it up until the clack goes away. Give it a half, 3/4 turn, whatever your predetermined setting is. Now, when you do that with the valve cover off, it makes a hell of a mess because obviously all the oil is spitting out there, dropping down there, and it's supposed to go back in the holes. Well, with no valve cover gasket, it's dumping on the exhaust, makes a heck of a mess. Fortunately, we have these valve covers that came with this motor. We're going to sacrifice them. I know a lot of people want me to put them back on. One, it's all schmozzled and has a crack in it. So what we're going to do is essentially cut a big window in this section right here-ish. That way, as you can kind of see, if we cut it right there, we'll be able to adjust the rockers, but still have this. Man, the bugs are crazy. Still have that on there. It has a crappy gasket. We'll put a couple of bolts in it just to kind of hold it. It's not going to be perfect. Obviously, it's still going to spew a little bit of oil out and stuff, but it'll reduce it by 85% or something like that. So we'll do that. We'll run the valves one last time. Hopefully, we can make that noise go away, at least see what it is. See if we see something that's blatantly wrong. And if not, we're just gonna go ahead and run it, see what it is. Hopefully all the valves are opening and closing. But it looks good, has some power, a little squeal on the way out. Again, I'm a little iffy on the brakes on this thing they don't feel exactly right. I gotta bleed them again. Has forward and reverse. What else could a man want? So we'll do that, finish off this here video, and then honestly, I gotta get ready for Miles Mayhem. We're going on a drag race thing, but I'll probably start welding on some quarter panels before I do that, or welding up the quarter panels, I should say. But man, a big block and a full-size Chevy, I'm a fan of this. Well, there we go. Look at this sweet machine, eh? So I just bolted the bottom. Now you can see we get to the valves. We're going to use our fancy wrench, or the rockers, I should say, and we're going to loosen till they clatter and then go. You know, on first inspection, everything looks good. Nothing's completely loose like a wore-out cam or anything like that, but I guess we will just see. Hopefully I just missed line one, or maybe this motor's just going to be noisy. Sometimes you got noisy motors. Yeah, so I'll go fire this thing up. It always looks cool. I'm going to try and talk my way through it with the microphone. She might be a little loud and noisy and stuff like that, so it may be talked over, or who knows. We'll figure something out here. But look, every way we're going to adjust valves. It's good. Okay, so I went through and I found the noisy valve. Man, or rocker, this thing was just spraying oil like crazy. But I did fix the problem. The noise did go away. So what we're going to do is now I'm going to show you how to do it now that everything's been taken care of. It was really hard. Here's the problem. So you have a clack, 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 clack. You have to loosen the other valve until you're at a clack, 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 clack. You're adding a second noise. So it's kind of hard to explain. So I just kind of went through it real quick. But now that everything is quiet, I'll show you. We'll set this side of valves the old school way, or the running way, and then you'll kind of be able to understand, hopefully a little bit better, is my plan. So it'll be running, it'll be quiet. We'll loosen until it starts clacking away. We'll just slightly tighten it up until the noise goes. Then we'll give it a half turn. The valves are set. Deal? All right, I'm going to shout at you here, but hopefully we'll be able to hear it on the microphone. So it's all quiet. We'll slowly loosen it. You can hear it start clacking. So then what we're going to do is we're going to tighten it just until the clack just stops. Give it a half turn. Move over to this one. Just starts clicking. Just stop. Half turn. Loosen this one a little bit. Start clacking. Just stop. Half turn. So we'll keep doing that. The valves are set. Well, got it all back together. I'm happy. Motor's getting no more valve train noise. Obviously, that's a good thing. So I think that's it for now and for this video. Just got to drive the thing back in. We're going to call her. So can break in. Everything went pretty good other than my own issues. Obviously, not setting the valve. One valve I didn't set proper, and we had those little vacuum leaks. But otherwise, lots of timing. It seems like it's pretty peppy. I do want to take it for a drive, but car's just not ready. Unfortunately, I did want to finish more of the door stuff, but falling behind on parts and all that with the door latch, I didn't want to carry on. So we got the motor done, driveline's done, transmission is forward and reverse, so basically we're good. Drive shaft was in, all new brakes, all new suspension. I think we're pretty freaking dialed. Coming up next, I want to start welding all this together, so we got to get the post welded in proper, and then join a little filler piece in between there. That'll be the only real trick. The rest of it then we're just filling it in, a little bit of fiberglass. Before you know it, it'll be a two-door. Now we still need little rust patches in the doors and stuff like that, but that's all little bits here and there, so I'm pretty excited about it. Anyways, thanks for watching. Subscribe below, leave a comment. I really appreciate it. We're working hard, man, the bugs, on getting to 100K. So thank you every one of you guys who are helping me out doing that along the journey. And let's keep hot rodding alive, right? Big block and a big car. Man, I'm so stoked about this thing. What a beater to fall in love with.